Hello, I am Tally and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be reviewing some products from Miss A. This is probably the cheapest lip stains that I've ever come across that isn't Temu. And after they did all the testing with Temu products and stuff, I stopped buying makeup from Temu. I didn't trust it after that. So I think this might be the next best thing. I haven't heard anybody complain about like Miss A from a ethical perspective. Like you hear a lot of stuff from Shein. So I don't know how they sit on that scale of how ethical they are, but we have 4 different lip stains because when I searched their website, this is what came up. And we're going to be testing them out. We're going to see how universal they are. So that will they work on a variety of different skin tones, and then formula, longevity, and then practicality. Can they be used on the cheeks? I like to personally use lip stains often as a long-lasting blush, and then I'll set it with a powder blush, and that just gives me a blush that lasts a lot longer than if I had just done a regular blush. Can't talk today at all. I'm trying to figure out which one I want to start with. The one that I really wanted for this, I would have gotten both of them. This one and the other one. They were out. Q, I don't know if that's how you say it. It was K-U-U. And it's just been out for the longest time. I kept going back and checking. Check TikTok shop. Couldn't get there either. It's just clearly that is like the most popular shade, or they're having issues with the pigment and they can't get it, and maybe they're having to reformulate. I don't really know, but I just know that you can't get it right now. Is my camera straight? Anyways. In today's economy, finding makeup that is cheap but still gives you the results that you want is the trick. And Miss A, I've been pleasantly surprised. There's been a few things I'm just like, but that's true of like any makeup brand. But they are definitely better than the Dollar Tree stuff that I found. Dollar Tree is even more of a hit and miss, and you can end up just wasting your money. This, I've so far been like, I can work with it, you know? So, without further ado, let's get into each one. I did a long wear test of every single one, and we're going to rate them kind of similar I did to the She Glam lip stains. And so, just like that. So let's get into it. So the first one is probably my least favorite. It happened to be like the first one that I tested out, and it is this bad boy. This is the AOA A+, yes, I Heart Dew Blush Drops. I hated this. Maybe it was the color. The color looked a lot more muted when like in the product photos, so I thought I was getting like a nice kind of like more of a dusty color as opposed to like just like fuchsia. But this is it's a lot more brighter than I was expecting. So I was a little disappointed with that, but honestly, that can be how it goes with swatches and stuff. You kind of just are guessing when you purchase stuff online. But for universality, so will this work on a multitude of lips and skin colors and all of that? So that's what we're referring to. I definitely think it has enough pigment. So I think it would work on a wide range of skin tones, but also if you have pigmented lips. I think it is pigmented enough. But there's not a huge like color options with a lot of their stuff. There isn't like a huge, colors to choose from and stuff like you would get with, like if you were to walk into Ulta Beauty, there'd be a little bit more color options. But not surprising given, it's a, the online dollar store, makeup brand. So, not too surprising, but the limited color range can make it difficult for everybody to find a color that, works for them and that they'll like. So, because of that, I did give it an 8, and also just because since the swatches were just like So like this looked so different in the product photos. It made me like, even just like looking at it in the bottle, it looks different than in the product photos, but maybe I'm just blind. Here, maybe I can pull up the product photos. What do you guys think? I just thought it was going to be just a little bit more muted. Just a little bit more muted. Like it looks like the same color, just a little bit, like you turn down the saturation just a bit, but clearly it's just the lighting, you know, the lighting that I'm looking at. And then you have like that small little dot to look at for like the pigment. And I think if I had paid like a little bit more attention to that small little dot, maybe I would have realized that it wasn't quite as muted. I think it just looks muted because of the bottle, you know? But I didn't see that they had like any swatches like on people for this one. At least not that I remember. So maybe that's why, you know, But again, swatches in person, you know, can just, swatches online can just be so deceiving, because even if you see a swatch on a person, unless they have your exact skin color, including undertone, it's going to look different on you. So swatches help you kind of get an idea, but you won't necessarily know what it will look like on you until you try it out. So 8 out of 10 wasn't too bad. Longevity, I could still see it at the end of the day. It didn't wear patchy on the lips, at least. The blush was kind of another story. I mean, this says it's blush drops, and I didn't really care for it as a blush. The other one that I tried from Miss A, this blush for my full face of Miss A makeup, was a lot more impressed with that blush. Longevity was good, 8 out of 10. Can't complain too bad. I just didn't care for the color. Practicality, you do need a lip brush to apply, because again, it's like this dropper. So to apply it to the lips, which they say you can, apply it to the lips, they did advertise it as a lip and cheek stain. I do, at least that's what I remember. I remember they saying like you could use it on the lips, but I don't know if they necessarily made it for the lips. I think they made it more to be a blush, but I was more impressed with it as, on the lips as a lip stain than I was as a blush. Like the blush, it was kind of difficult, so like you can't reapply this naturally. The squeeze tube, like I accidentally squeezed way too much out, and once it's out, can't put it back in. So from a practical perspective, it's kind of annoying, because I can't, I squeeze it out, oh, too much, need to put it back. And I was, really having to, squeeze it. Maybe this was the first time I was using it. Maybe if I, continue to use it, it'll get a little easier, but it was annoying. At least first impressions of it. So I gave it a 4 out of 10 just because I hated that too much squeezed out, and I ended up wasting, and I can't put it back. And I put it on my lips and cheeks, and I still had extra left over. Formula, it's not drying. I just thought it was a little just too patchy on the cheeks. Now maybe if I played around with it and tried a different brush, maybe a beauty sponge, even just using my fingers, to help warm up the product, maybe if I played around with it more, I could get a better application, because sometimes, what you normally do for your other blushes isn't what you need to do for, this. So I just kind of did my standard thing, and the standard thing gave me patchy results. I would say from a formula perspective, it is a 6. Just kind of wish it had applied just a little bit better as a blush. That's my only gripe, is that since it's a cheek stain, it should have applied better as a blush. But average was a 6.5. Maybe if I had picked a more forgiving color for my skin tone. Again, I thought it was going to be muted, and I do like kind of muted blushes on me, because I lean more kind of neutral, and I think I like more muted stuff on me as opposed to really bright colors. I just think it looks a little bit better on me than bam, So I thought I was getting that, but maybe I would have given it a higher score if I had just gotten a better color that I had liked, and I'd been a little bit more forgiving. And maybe if I had gotten a peach, it wouldn't have looked as patchy, because it just would have been a little bit more seamless with my skin tone. So it may have been my fault for choosing the wrong color that it got such a low score. Maybe I should get a different color and try again. But again, I like the other blushes better that they have, so I'm probably just going to stick with what I like instead of trying to experiment. So this is on the bottom, and I think it's going to stay on the bottom. I got this lip stain when I got it. It was like brand new, and you know, the Peel lip liners are all in, but they've discontinued it, so we're not going to rate this. But honestly, it's kind of on the same line as their lip liner pen. This is, let me see, this was by their Studio brand, I think. No, AOA Pro. And this is the Studio. So they have like a Pro, a Lab, and then the Studio, and the Studio is just kind of like everybody, you know, and it's usually cheaper. This was $4. They discontinued it. I guess it didn't do well, or maybe they had, you know, it was just too expensive to manufacture, or couldn't get the ingredients, something went wrong. But I would have rated them about the same. So if you like that one, you'll probably like these as well. You don't get quite as much product. But this is, I got this in the shade Mauve. I actually ordered some more shades of this because I did like this, and I did see that they had a brown. The brown looked a little orange, but I'm going to try it. Hopefully it's a little bit darker in person. Here. So the lip liner pen. So from a universality perspective, I would say it is a 7, just because I worry that that brown isn't deep enough for all skin tones. Like the brown looked just a little light and a little orange. I think they need just a slightly darker brown. It'd be cool also if they did like a black, so you could do like a black liner with a red lip. I would love it if they do black. I haven't seen like a black lip liner stain. I'd love it if somebody came out with one. And not gray or purple, black, you know? So longevity, it did fade, and I think part of that was probably the color. This color was just slightly deeper than my lip color, so it can be a little bit, so as it fades, it kind of just faded into my lips, you know? So if you pick a, you know, something that's different than your lip color, more different, you know, the brown or the red, you'll probably be able to see it longer, and so the longevity might seem a little bit longer. So I gave the longevity a 7, but maybe I should have given it an 8. But I was having a problem with it wearing off, and the center is so weird. So like my Cupid's bow, and then down here, but then the corners would still be intact. And I actually reapplied it in the middle of the day to the center, just because I had to go out and I didn't want to look crazy, and I feel like I looked a little crazy. So I reapplied it. I don't know if it's because I put a gloss over the top of it and maybe it didn't like that. To me, these lip liner pens, you should be able to put a gloss over them and not have any problems. I don't know why it wore off in the center. It was strange. Sometimes I can understand the bottom lip, because sometimes your bottom lip will wear more through eating and stuff, but usually I can still see stuff like up on my Cupid's bow. And my Cupid's bow was worn off too, so I just don't understand. But because this is so compact, you can throw it into your purse if you need to retouch up. You know, it's so little, it's like the perfect size for that. So not too terrible, you know, to carry it around if you do need to reapply. But because it did wear off in the center, I would say if you're eating something really oily, maybe I did, I can't remember what I ate that day, it's probably not going to last, you know, from a longevity perspective. Oil does seem to want to break it down, so I gave it a 7 out of 10 because it wasn't bad, but because it wore off in the center weirdly, I couldn't give it an 8 or a 9. Practicality, it really can only be used as a liner. I mean, I guess you could fill in your entire lip, but there's not a lot of product in here. There's 0.017. Here, let's compare it to the NYX ones. So here's the NYX. NYX has 0.03. So there is more in here. This is a full 1 ml, and this isn't. So there's definitely, you know, if you fill in your whole lips, you're going to be burning through these a lot faster. But, so I would recommend, from that perspective, I would just recommend using it as a liner. I didn't notice that the tip ran out of product, so it seems to be good. It kind of has that ballpoint, just like the NYX, but it is different. It's not as, you can see it's not as tall, but it has that little bulbous point, which I do think helps hold product and bring product to the tip. I do like to store stuff like this upside down, though, just to make sure that when I go to use it, there's product down in there. From practicality, just because it can't be used as a blush, I gave it an 8 because, I mean, it's not designed. It's designed to be a liner, so I feel like it would be unfair to give it a lower score for something that it's not designed to do. Formula, I didn't notice that it was too dry, and again, I just lined my lips and then put a gloss on, so maybe if I had filled in my whole lips, I would have discovered that it is quite dry, just like the NYX ones. NYX ones are great as long as you just use them as a liner, but if you use it to fill in your whole lip, it was quite drying. But definitely I would recommend if you like the lip liner and the lip gloss combo, because then you don't have to worry about reapplying your liner quite as much. You can also use this liner and then use a longer lasting liner and then pair the two. That way when this wears off, you still have something underneath. A lot of times I do that with my lip stains. It's just a base. That way when the lipstick wears off, I don't look as crazy. I gave this an average of 7.75. So right now it's in second place. Actually, this is in first place. This is in second place because this is last. I said that backwards. So this, I love the packaging. It's so cute. It's a little paint tube. And this is again the AOA Studio. I think all of these are AOA Studio except for the peel off that has been discontinued. But this is the Jelly Tint Lip Stain. They have this one which is the Cherry Jam, and then they had a more orangey peachy one as well. So not a lot of colors to choose from, even more limited than the other ones, which isn't my favorite, but for universality, I mean, I don't think it's quite pigmented for two-toned lips, is my only concern with this one. It's pigmented. It's not quite as pigmented as, I think, the one that's going to end up being number 1. So I gave it an 8. -1 for only having 2 shades, and then -1 because I don't think it will work on quite everybody, just because it's not quite as pigmented. Longevity, it did stain. Nothing to really write home about. I didn't feel like my lips looked ridiculously different at the end of the day. I do have pinker lips, so maybe if you don't have as pink of lips on me and you want something a little bit more natural, you will like this. For me, just because it was middle of the road, I gave it a 6. Yeah, maybe that was too harsh. Maybe I should give it a 7. But like, just compared to the other one from a longevity perspective, it just doesn't compete. So I was kind of comparing it to this one because this was the last one that I did, and I was comparing it to the next one that I'll show you. So maybe that's why I was a little biased. Maybe, I'm giving it a 6. Practicality, I gave it a 7. It worked as a blush, but I really had to mess around with it. The first brush I tried was a complete fail. I had to go to a fluffier brush that isn't quite as densely packed as, because this was just, these brushes I normally use were just too dense. But this is what I normally use for blush, and usually it's fine because it's not like incredibly dense, but it's denser, and it didn't work. It came out patchy, and then I fixed it. I was able to fix it with a fluffier brush, but I still felt like it was a little patchier, and it wore a little patchier than my favorite one. So because of that, I gave it a 7 out of 10. Just because it could have been better, Formula, it wasn't drying. Stains well, not quite as well as, the other one, but it gets the job done. I think if you're a more natural, clean girl, you'll prefer this one. This one would be your number 1, as opposed to the other one, but I like pigment. When I put makeup on, I want to be able to see it, because why put it on? Like, that's how I feel. So, but this one is an average of 7.5. So the lip liner is actually still number 1. This is number 2, and the Stupid I Heart Do is number 3. All right, and then for what I think will be my favorite one. So this is their water-based lip stain. So the Jelly Tint is also water-based, but this is the Magic Girl by AOA Studio Lip Stain, and this is Ayami. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Ami. Ayami, that's the shade name. And it was very, very, very orange. Kind of maybe like more of like a reddy orange, but still orange. It's not like, it didn't look like the cap, in my opinion. But universality, it's pigmented enough. Definitely pigmented enough to work on everybody. If you don't like really pigmented lip stains, then this won't be for you. You'll prefer the other one, as I said. But this will definitely work for everybody. So I had to give it a 10 out of 10. Longevity, it lasted not only all day, I could see it even on my lips in the next day. And I was kind of doing a disfavor by testing out these lip stains in the stupid winter. My lips have been going through it. I think I finally got them to a better place, but when I was testing these out, I was struggling. So it did seep into my lip lines. Both of the water-based lip tints did. If you have any with water-based lip tints, if you have dry patches, it's going to seep in. I like water-based lip tints because I think they're the most long-lasting ones. Just in general, that's been my experience, and they're the easiest to layer underneath a lipstick and with lip liners and stuff like that, and you don't have to wipe anything off. You can just put it on full pigment, put on your rest of your lip combo, and go. So, but it lasted days. Practicality, I thought it was really going to be too pigmented for a blush, especially for me, a pale pasty girl. I was just like, this won't work for me. It will work for deeper skin tones. But it worked. I was wrong. I was glad at first I wasn't even going to try it or attempt it, because I was like, I'm going to look crazy. But I attempted it, and I think it worked. I think I looked good. And it worked better than any other ones I tried as a blush. This worked the best, I would say, as a blush. I would definitely be careful to don't take it from the dropper and put it directly onto your face. Put it onto the back of a compact, and then take your brush and dab, 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 dab. Really work it into the brush. Really, really, so you get an even coating. You don't want there to be necessarily a huge dot of pigment that then will dot onto your face. You really, 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 really want to disperse it through the brush and then apply to your cheek. And work in layers. That's my advice. It's good just because it is so pigmented. But I gave it an 8. Let me see. Oh, no, wrong one. I scrolled too far. So practicality, I give it a 9 out of 10 just because it works as a blush. It was beautiful, and it is pigmented to work pretty much on. I think everybody just gotta be careful if you're, pale and pasty like me. Formula, it did settle into my lip lines. As I said, that's pretty standard for lip stains, especially water-based lip stains, for them to, if you got dry patches, they'll cling to those dry patches a lot more than your lips, your nice, healthy, plump lips. So, which is why it's easier to wear lip stains in the summer than it is winter, especially if you really suffer from chronically dry lips. So that's something to watch out for. And another thing is, another reason I didn't think it would work as a blush is because it dried down so fast on my lips. I put it on, and I was like, whoa, that's really bright. So I tried to wipe some off, just to get, a color that was a little bit more flattering, and nothing wiped off. It dried down, boom, like that. So I guess if you really want something to be to mute it, just to put it in the center and then kind of feather it out. I see people do that a lot with the lip stains. This dries down so fast that it could be difficult to work with, but you might want to take a lip brush and really do it that way, just to get a lighter application as opposed to going straight in with the applicator. Alright, so formula, I gave it an 8 out of 10. Just because of the drying, -1 for how quickly it dried and I couldn't wipe it off. And then because it did cling to the dry patches, I minused another 1. But that's really not its fault. That's just kind of how lip stains are. But some are better than others about that. But this got an average of 9.25, the highest score. The other ones were in the 7s. This one here, what was this one again? This was a 6.5. So our final rankings for these lip stains is number 1, AOA Studio Magic Girl. They have 4 different colors, so I do think you'll be able to find more colors than this one, so gives you slightly more options. Wouldn't mind an even greater shade range expansion, just because these are so bright. I'd love like a dupe for the cherry cola one from Elf, you know, something I could get for this price. I would love it. So, you know, it's more of that, you know, darker, more muted, you know, a little bit more wearable. Also, one of my favorite lip stains is this one by Ulta. Would love a dupe of this as well. And this is more muted as well. It's not like bam bright. It's, you know, a little bit more muted, so it can be more wearable. And this is Plum Paradise. Would love a dupe of that as well. So I'd love it if they would expand the shade range. And then second is the pen. Might end up replacing the NYX ones. Although I don't think the brown is as dark as this one. Let me see, that's not the deepest one. It's the Up to No Good is the really dark one. So might still be getting the Up to No Good one for future. But I think these could replace the other colors. Maybe they can get a darker one. Would love it. I need to see the brown in person. I ordered it. It's coming. I need to see it in person. Maybe it's darker in person. And then third is the AOA Studio Jelly Tint Lip Stain. And last is the AOA Studio Blush I Heart Do Blush Drops Cheek Stain. For it being a cheek stain, I just didn't think it worked really well as a blush. I thought it worked better as a lip stain, to be perfectly honest. And it was quite comfortable on the lips. I just didn't really care for the color. And maybe that's why it's on the bottom. I chose poorly from a color perspective, and that maybe clouded my vision. But still, I think it is still at the bottom, because I still think I kind of preferred these three lip stains over that. So, but that could be why it didn't get into the 7s and was in the 6s for grading. But that is everything that I recommend. I definitely recommend checking these out. If you know, like water-based lip stains, for the price, you can't beat the price. And the pigment and the longevity is crazy. It can work as a blush. So highly, highly recommend that one. Again, if you're a clean girl, you'll prefer that one. And then if you want a lip liner to something cheaper than the NYX ones, I wonder if it truly is cheaper if we do like per an ounce. So these are $12. Yeah. So I would definitely recommend Miss A and testing out some of their products, just because you might find something that you like just as much, and then you can swap it out for a product that you're currently using, and then you'll be able to save some money. You'll be able to, I recommend saving, or you can buy something else with that money that you're saving. But yeah, you can buy more makeup. That's usually what I do, just buy more makeup. So, but I definitely recommend Miss AOA. I definitely will probably keep repurchasing the liners and these guys, just because they worked incredibly well. But yeah, so I will see you guys in the next video. Hope this helped you find some cheaper alternatives to your favorite lip stains. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!